life as it is difficult. Then you have this desire of being a content creator, whether you write blogs, you make videos, or you have a podcast. And along the way, little things come in or creep into your life that could make content creation difficult. It could steal the joy out of it. Whether you're doing it for fun or you're doing it with a business ambition that you may have. That's something that's been on my mind recently. I have a YouTube channel. I write books. Recently, I started this podcast. And along the way, there are different things I've done that has made my life difficult, and it has stolen the joy to create content, to write books. And there are some things I wanted to share along those lines that I hope you wouldn't fall into the same traps and pitfalls. And I'll give you a little heads up on some of the things that could be making your life difficult. And then I hope to cover some ideas that could make your life a little bit easier, sharing my experience as I go along. So, welcome to Caribbean Content Creators. My name is Lyndon Baptiste. I am a writer, YouTuber, and podcaster from Trinidad and Tobago. And in the early days of my YouTube journey, I think I was, apart from, yes, I had the joy of creating content, and I still do. But along the way, I had my eyes so set on hitting the 1,000 subscribers, hitting the 4,000 watch hours to monetize your content. It made the journey a little bit difficult for me. But it also, there was also a great part of it because you, along the way, trying to figure out, well, who is my audience? What do they like? What type of videos are they responding well to? But with the pressure and the emphasis on monetizing your channel and getting views and hitting targets, it could make your life a little bit difficult. Of course, you may have your eyes on the income to sustain your journey as a YouTuber or writer. The second point is, and I've touched on it briefly there, is balancing your consistency and quality with the pressure to constantly produce content. When you hear different tutorial websites and they talk about, consistently producing content to reach people and monetize your channel and get more views and grow your subscribers, as useful as that is in your journey, if you really mentally become too hung up on that idea of more subscribers and producing more videos, it may not affect you in the first month or two, but a couple months down the road, you're going to have a hard time because of it. And that could definitely make your life and your journey a little bit difficult, especially when you believe you're putting out quality content and you're not reaching people. You have low views, low feedback. Recently, I was talking to a comedian from Trinidad, a gentleman named Mr. Errol Fabian, and he was saying that in the long term, views, clicks, and money don't necessarily bring you happiness. It's the feedback. And when you're making videos and you feel like you aren't reaching people and people aren't commenting and sharing their thoughts with you, this is part of the process. It takes time. It takes time to develop. You could probably picture the farmer with a little seed that becomes a seedling, and it might take him 2 or 3 years to harvest fruit from it. And your content creation journey could very well be like that little seed that is taking time to grow. And if you find yourself in a position where you are comparing your progress to someone else's progress, then your journey could become hard for you. It boils down to you doing the work over time, that seed growing. Like it's like going to the gym, your muscles developing, you're not going to see them after the first night. Low views is part of the journey. And we'll touch a little bit later on this idea of, experimenting with your content and seeing what works well to maybe boost those views and staying true to the journey and the people that you are trying to reach. Excuse me. The barrier to entry to content creation is getting lower and lower every day. For instance, I don't know if I could have started a podcast a couple years ago with the different things that I had to invest in and the know-how. But with the technology, it's a little bit easier to invest and enter a space with more distributors available. So as that barrier to entry drops, your competition naturally is going to increase. And while it is helpful to view content creators as collaborators, which is the way I see it, you are in a sense a competitor because you're competing for screen time, especially if you're on YouTube and you're making long form type content. Because when a page, say for example, someone searches for Trinidad cooking videos or how to make a doubles, they're going to be served with very similar content from 10 or 20 different creators. And they're going to make a choice probably based on the thumbnail or who they know and who they like. So you're competing for people's time, even though you want a competitor directly with a fellow YouTuber. So you definitely have that which could make your life a little bit harder. And I guess you have a responsibility to think about or discover what is going to make people attracted to the work that I do and choose my videos so that I could reach my watch hours a little bit faster, or I could generate more revenue from the work that I am doing. Staying relevant and coming up with new and original ideas is difficult. Sometimes, as content creators, we could find or stumble upon a particular video idea and it works well and we could milk it. And people like originality, and it is quite possible to be very relevant in 2020 or 2022 or 2023. Sticking to a particular format, it works, but it only works for so long. And you constantly have to be finding ways to, I guess, reinvent yourself or reinvent your content to serve a particular market. But sticking with this idea of making life hard, that's something that could definitely make our life harder. But I guess maybe for YouTubers and content creators that are established and you're kind of standing maybe in the background or the shadows now as someone that you have a subscriber base, but you just aren't getting the views. People aren't looking at your content the way they used to look at your content. They're not supporting you the way they used to support you. And it probably stirs up in you certain feelings of bitterness and resentment, which is further going to make your life a little bit harder. And then this time management and balancing content creation with personal life. And that is something that has become very real to me. And I have had to make a decision to step back, particularly from certain types of content creation, maybe places that I would like to visit that I am unable to visit. These are some of the things that could make your life hard as a content creator. And if you aren't careful, it's something that could disrupt your process as you go along. Just to quickly recap them: difficulty in monetizing your content, balancing consistency and equality with the pressure to constantly produce content, reaching people, low views, low feedback, competition for audience attention, staying relevant and coming up with new and original ideas, and dealing with negativity and criticism from audience or trolls. That's a big one. That is a massive one that I omitted in the original list there. Negativity, criticism, and there is a part of this journey where you have to develop a very thick skin. And I think fortunately for me, because I will see the haters showing up in the comment section from time to time. And there are times where it could stab you with a little bit of pain or the realization that, hey, this isn't what I'm doing. How come someone misunderstands this? And they're showing up as haters. You just have to accept that is part of the journey. That is part of the things that you're going to face. Whether you're doing well or you're not doing well, someone could easily create a profile with a fake name and they could come pretty hard at you. Is it worth blowing a fuse over things like that? Definitely not. Because you could, if you have a certain image or brand that you're trying to push, we often hear the word brand. I haven't quite determined what that is, or I feel like I know what our brand is, but I don't know what our brand is at the same time. But anyway, staying on course here, the idea is that you want to respond in a manner that the viewer who comes along and is scrolling through the comment section, because I think there are people who love the comment section more than they love the actual videos that they watch. They want to see how other people are responding to your content. So you have a responsibility to be wise. I've found that if I see a comment that stirs out a particular feeling in me, maybe I need to give that comment a little bit more thought, pay attention, because maybe the person is stepping on something that might be true, something that I haven't given any thought to, something that I didn't treat with sufficient respect, and I take note of it in moving forward. So you're going to get a lot of helpful comments, and the tone in your mind may not seem right, but be very mindful of it. Take time to respond. Take time to develop a thick skin and let certain things move past you. So let's talk a little bit about how to make your life easy as a content creator. These are some of the things that I pay attention to, and I hope it helps you. Plan and organize. Plan ahead, create a content calendar, and prioritize tasks to stay on track and avoid burnout. Definitely helpful. Someone I spoke to recently was Trinbago Vibes about this, and he has his content creation mapped out from now until 2025. We filmed a video together recently, apart from a podcast episode that we did, and he was able to show me to tell me off the bat that I'll be publishing this video on March the 4th, and we're in early February. So it has a clear roadmap, and it is now, I should say in the same breath that I manage maybe my creative ideas that I have in a manner like that, but I haven't really given much thought to my content publishing schedule. But since talking to Trinbago Vibes is something that I am a little bit more aware of, and it kind of hinges on the second point, which is to utilize tools that, project management software and scheduling tools within sites like YouTube, Facebook, that you could use to manage your business. For example, I did a couple podcasts and I recorded all of them, so I have the video formats of it. And it took me a really long time to do it. It took me about 3 or 4 days of consistent work to go through the long format and then chop from it individual short files that I could use on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, etc. And it took me a long time, but I now have 3 months worth of content that I have automated on YouTube in particular, just in time for the YouTube shorts and monetization updates that they made. And that content is just sitting there. So I could not tape a video for the next 3-4 months and show up every day. So that work there is done. So pay attention to the tools that you have. I haven't used it a lot, but someone mentioned to me recently Descript. And Descript, where it gives you a subtitle type, you upload your video file to it, you get an audio version, the text, and by trimming out the text that you don't want, it edits the video and creates it for you with even captions on display. There's a lot of even this very podcast episode that I'm working on right now. I went to chat GPT once the idea had kind of gelled in my mind, and I generated a first draft off of it. And what I'm decorating it with is the experience that I have so that I could add to the talking points. And as you go along, you're generating your own experience and you're using the tools to make your life a little bit easier. For this podcast, I invested in the Rodecaster Pro 2. Yes, it is a costly piece of hardware, but it's made my workflow so easy in terms of I do have to think about any, EQ, audio, engineering in the background. I just record, trim, upload. You need to use the tools that you have access to. You need to, I think education is a very important part of your journey. Sometimes we get taken up with the content creation process, and that's all well and good. But the more you educate yourself by whether it's listening to podcasts, whether it's reading books, whether it's looking at tutorial videos, then you're making your life a lot easier and you're developing skills in a particular area that you could probably market one day. The next point is to take breaks. Get enough sleep. Disconnect from your work. As a writer, I've gone through I didn't even recognize or know the word back then. But I experienced when I was working on my book called Boy Days, Short Stories About Trini Men, I experienced a lot of burnout. And I didn't even see it at the point in time. Because think about working on a book for 2 years, you're writing, you're editing. It was my brother who recognized that, hey, you're probably suffering some kind of burnout, or be careful, you don't suffer from a mental breakdown because of the work that you're so passionate about. So you need to recognize when you really do need a rest. Previously, I mentioned that you could have your content created and it's just on an automatic schedule. And no one would know that I'm taking, if I didn't create anything in the background for a month, I'll still be showing up on social media. So I think you have a responsibility to recognize that when you're doing well, when you're able in a frame of mind that you could create content, creating extra content is something that could be helpful to you. So you create your extra content and you don't go crazy thinking that, oh, I need to publish all this immediately. No, man, pace yourself. Whether you know you want to have a content schedule of 2 videos per week or 1 podcast episode for the week, pace yourself. I know it's helpful for the audience to know, when you're showing up. So, for example, you let them know, hey, I'm showing up on Mondays and Thursdays. Same thing goes for your podcast. And while there's a lot of wisdom in that, that your viewers, your listeners, they're conditioned in a certain way, I am at a stage of my journey where I am giving preference to myself as the content creator. So sometimes, whereas in early 2022, I was posting 2-3 videos per week, and then it eventually dwindled down to 1 video per week. I am not announcing any strategy. I am not going for 1 video per week, 3 videos per week. When I am in a frame of mind and I have additional time that doesn't cheat my day job, doesn't cheat my family, when I have time to make a video, edit it, upload it, I show up. And my audience is mature enough to understand that I have a life otherwise and I'm showing up when I can. So, yes, you could hold yourself to a schedule. It makes you accountable. And if you're doing this as a business, then you definitely may not have the luxury that I am expressing. But, part of this content creation journey for me is really doing it to have fun. And it is wonderful that other people enjoy the journey and, they show up to watch your content. But for me, it's about when I could afford to do it. I know that sounds a little bit selfish, but I'm giving priority to myself and the time that I have. And when I could show up, I show up. Something that I'm giving high priority to right now is surrounding myself with people that are in the same field. So surround yourself with inspiration, be it through books, podcasts, or online communities to stay motivated and creative. And I realized that by participating in groups like this, recently we started something on Clubhouse called Caribbean Content Creators. I'm participating in forums now on Clubhouse where people have podcasts and they show up and they ask questions about tools, the techniques that you could use, video editing, how do you connect with your audience. And I realized for me personally, having conversations with people like that, whether they're based in Trinidad, the Caribbean, or globally, it's bringing a certain comfort in me and is giving me a sense of great satisfaction to know that I could help people who are maybe a couple steps behind me in the journey. Because if I could make their life easier, then I count it as a win for everyone. Part of making my life easier as a content creator, and I hope this helps you. And if you agree or disagree, please feel free to let me know. You could reach out to me on Instagram, or you could reach out to me in the comment section in my YouTube videos or on Facebook. Feel free to let me know what your thoughts are in terms of collaboration and helping people, and what does it do for you if you're a content creator. When you surround yourself with like-minded people, what benefits it brings to the table for you. So I hope these points are helpful. And if you made it to the end of this podcast, thank you very much. Reach out and let me know. If you listen on Spotify and you have time to rate the show and give me your thoughts, it'll be extremely helpful. And whatever you're up to, have a great day and thanks so much for your time. If you enjoy reading, my books are available on Amazon.com. You could pop in there and you don't even need to purchase it. You could just read a sample. The different books you have samples that you could download onto your Kindle. So thank you very much for your time. And if ever you're on Clubhouse and you have the application and you want to connect, the name of the Clubhouse that we have is Caribbean Content Creators. So thanks so much for your time. Until next time. Bye-bye.